Good morning, traders. Welcome to the Bookmap Platform Details webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. The risk disclaimer: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Okay, what we do in this webinar here, it's open to the public and is for those that are rather new to Bookmap. So we define what Bookmap is, who uses Bookmap, how to connect to the various markets with Bookmap, and then how to subscribe. And then we look at a few resources online, as well as then jumping into the live market and start to understand what you're looking at in Bookmap in terms of the elements on the Bookmap chart, how to read them, and how to start to read the order flow, the basics in the order flow. And that's the advantage you're going to get here, because we have a unique way of visualizing the market data compared to other platforms. So let's jump into the website and we'll go over it. Good morning, Marvino. Okay, so we'll scroll down a little bit. So what is Bookmap? We are a software trading platform. Okay, we're not a broker, we're not a data provider, we're a software platform. And just like any other platform out there, we just have a unique way of visualizing the market data. Okay, let's continue on. You can, depending on what kind of trader you are, it really doesn't matter. Day traders, scalpers, swing traders, quants, even position traders use a Bookmap on much higher time frames. They still want to understand what the order book looks like for their trade management and entries and exits. Okay, we came from this quant environment, looking at very low time frames, but I'll show you in this webinar how we can look at much higher time frames as well. Okay, in fact, most people, including myself, use it on the higher time frames. All right, connectivity. So let's go over this. Bookmap connects to 3 different types of markets: futures markets, US equities, as well as digital currencies. Now, digital currency data is free, so you don't have to provide that. But for futures and US equities, you will need to provide it, either from your broker or from your data provider. Okay, we don't, that's not our business. Our business is the platform, the software. Okay, now for US equities, you'll connect with DXFeed. Okay, that's the only method right now, but for futures, you have all sorts of different options. You can connect with Rhythmic, CQG, Gain Capital, Transact, IQ Feed, Nanotick, and Cedro. You can also connect to the APIs of TT Xtrader Pro, NinjaTrader, and Interactive Brokers Traders Workstation. It's up to you. You can go that route. It's recommended to bypass their software completely and go directly with the data provider. You'll just have cleaner data and less issues. Okay, if you need a demo feed, you can click here. So you could get up and running with Bookmap with the Bookmap Global version and have free data as well for a 2-week trial here. All right, let's go over the different packages and pricing. Okay, you can subscribe monthly here, yearly for a 20% discount, or you can also get Bookmap for lifetime. Obviously, this is going to be the best overall deals since you buy it for life and you never have to pay another subscription. Now you can see the different versions here. We have digital, global, and global plus. Okay, now this digital version here is free. It's for one digital currency only. Now the data is free and those markets are always open, so you can always check out a digital currency. Now if you're a futures trader or a US equities trader, then I would recommend going with the global. Try it for a month, see if it works for you, connect your data up, and get access to the live market. For the global plus version, the big distinction here is our add-on indicator package. Okay, that comes with it. Proprietary indicators we put together, like our large lot tracker, being able to identify larger players in the order book who might be bullying the book, our iceberg detector, so we can start to identify larger players who don't want to show their liquidity, they want to hide it, but our algo can detect them. Okay, some imbalance indicators, as well as a correlation tracker, and the ability to trade right from the Bookmap chart with this global plus version. Now that's a big distinction, because you have the liquidity heat map in front of you, so you can start to really optimize your trading with the one-click trading. You can front run high liquidity for looking for a better probability of getting filled, and hide your orders behind high liquidity so you don't get stopped out as easily. All right, let's continue on. Okay, some testimonials here, but then I want to go over the blog. Click on the blog link up here, and there's all sorts of resources here that we've put together. Okay, so there's 30 plus materials here, different interviews with traders, more about crypto here, reviews on from different magazines or media here, etc. So all sorts of great stuff here. Then our Twitter account here as well. We're pretty active on Twitter, showing all sorts of new information every day. Here's one from yesterday, actually. You might want to check this out and find this quite interesting here. We put together this comparison between Bookmap and footprint charts. In fact, let's click on it, and I want to show it to you here. No, not that. Okay, this. Okay. All right, so just understanding really, if a lot of traders use the footprint charts. Okay, so we have a variety of different software we're comparing it to. But if you really want to start to understand the details here and the differences, well, here they are. And what Bookmap is showing you and the advantages you're getting, okay, comparing precisely some of these areas in Bookmap to the footprint chart. Okay, so yeah, take a look at this. There's all sorts of great stuff here. Just noticing high liquidity pulling here, and then high volume starts to trade in some of these areas here. Well, in footprint chart, you just see the volume trading, right? You don't understand why they're starting to hit the bid hard, because they pulled all that liquidity down here, right? You don't understand that, or you just can't see it. You don't have access to it. That why it charged up in these areas up here, because there was liquidity up here, and ended up trading, but then exhausted out and went down to the downside here, etc. So you'll see some really good areas here and comparisons. I would encourage you to take a look at this. I think this might help you understand some of the differences of what Bookmap is showing you and how to read it and how to use it, because you're really not getting the picture here with other platforms out there. They're not as transparent. You're getting full transparency here with the order book here in Bookmap. Okay, so a few different examples here to take a look at. All right, so that's that. And then our YouTube page, let's go over this. All right, some intro videos if you're new, features and components, some selected webinars here, but these order flow videos down here go over the basic education. I think you'll find these very helpful. I would encourage you to watch as many of these as you can and really absorb the content. This is the advantage you're getting in Bookmap, is through the visualization here. Once you start to understand these areas here, you're going to start to read the order flow very clearly. Now, this is what we go through in our educational process. Need to mention that here because when you subscribe to Bookmap, you get access to our educational course, okay? And you also get our advanced order flow webinar, access to that. And that starts at every day at 11 a.m. Eastern, so in 20 minutes. And this is for subscribers. We really go into detail into the order flow, right? So this is where you're going to get the advantage. It goes over the same course content, but we just see it in the live market, and we start to anticipate where price might go based on our analysis. Right, so we saw some great stuff yesterday. We were looking for it to go up yesterday, and it certainly did, and can't wait to cover it. Anyway, let's jump into Bookmap here and take a look and define the elements on the chart. Okay, I actually opened up the crude chart here. I just wanted to show you something in the crude inventories that we just had here at 10:30. And zoom in here. Look at the volatility. You know, no one knows really what the number is going to be, well, they're not supposed to, at least. It's kind of interesting here. We don't really see too much volatility. It's kind of funny. Usually, we'll see the sellers hit the bid hard into high liquidity down here, and then rocket back up to the other side to high liquidity here on the bid. Okay. Now, why I want to show this here is because You can see minutes before, 30 seconds before. Look at how they're starting to pull their liquidity here. I can even make this a little bit better here. Let's just amp up the heat map. See how they're pulling in this area here? Okay, like 30 seconds before. Okay, and then they start to add in later here. You can see it pretty clearly here. Okay, well, that's because now they know the news, right? And now they're willing to take the risk. But in this area here, they're not willing to take the risk. That's why you get volatility, right? It's not because of anything else. It's really because the liquidity is up at some of these areas up here, and you can see the volume does pick up, but it's got to have liquidity to trade. So usually you see it go to the other sides of the liquidity heat map into these high areas of liquidity. Okay. Anyway, it's great stuff to see, and it just gives a really good example of understanding the context between the aggressor and liquidity. And this is really where you can start to understand what's going on with price, starting to understand that context. Okay, so this is what we'll go through in detail here. In the advanced order flow, and actually you'll have access to our first course of that 4-part education. So you can check that out and go through, and I would recommend it because that part 1 goes through just understanding this example here, you know, volatility or what makes price move. Okay, and there's a lot of traders, veteran traders, and they still don't really have a good handle on some of those details. Okay, so yeah, take a look at that. It's also on our wiki. That's available to the public if you want to take a look at the market mechanics article there. That's on the wiki. Anyway, let's jump into the S&P E-mini. All right, and let's take a look at the 3 elements on this Bookmap chart so that everyone knows what we're looking at here. All right, all right. So there's, you know, if you're new, you're looking at this, you probably, you know, are a little confused. This looks like nothing else you've ever seen, and it is true. I mean, we're visualizing something that is very unique here, but the insight you're getting is pretty incredible. Okay, and it's very simple data. Okay, there's only 3 elements on this Bookmap chart. Okay, in fact, I'm going to go over a few trades here in the next webinar, but I'll take those off for the moment. And these 3 elements here, let's just go through each one. Okay, historical and current best bid and offer. Okay, these volume dots here, this is the volume that traded on that historical best bid and offer. And then you see this heat map here, this orange, white, red, and yellow, blue heat map. The scale is up here. High liquidity is red, and then orange, then yellow, white, and then blue. And what we're showing is just areas of high liquidity. Okay, larger players and where they're lining up in the book to trade. Okay, we're showing it here in the current market, but we're also showing it in the historical market because we record it. So let's go over that here because this is the first element that most people have a hard time with and not understanding really liquidity because they've never had access to it except from a trading dome. So this white line here separates the historical market to the left and the current market to the right. So this is the market window here with the best bid and offer and the liquidity heat map, current map. Okay, and then you see our price ladder here. And then we're looking at this COB column. Let's go over just the COB column. It stands for current order book. This is your dome. So these numeric values here, these are contracts. It's liquidity at these price levels. Okay, so we can see very specific you know, amount of liquidity at these price levels. This is where they want to sell. Okay, this is the auction. Down below is on the bid. This is where they want to buy. Now, we take these levels here, okay, and let's zoom in a little bit more. Okay, and we take these levels here of high liquidity, and then we turn them into a heat map. Okay, so up here we see over 300 contracts, and it's starting to get you know, this orangish color here. Okay, down here there's 322 in this orange color as well. Okay, and just turned red for a little bit there. Okay, well, when the numbers change and they bump up, the heat map bumps up as well. and reflects the change. Okay, so the numbers change here, and then you'll see the heat map change in this window. Now, what we do though is we record it and plot it on the chart historically. So what that allows you to do is now read your DOM, not just for the current market. Okay, you can read it for the historical market. You can zoom out. Okay, and we can start to understand the behavior in that market, in that auction. So we just traded through this level down here at 27.25. Okay, let's zoom in here. Because a lot of traders, they won't even look at a DOM because they've heard that it's all fake liquidity. Okay, well, we can make a very clear distinction between what's real liquidity that trades or transacts and that liquidity that pulls and has no intent to trade. And here it is. We're trading into this level of high liquidity here, and here's the behavior. Okay, and we can analyze and we can understand the behavior here, and start to then anticipate what's going on in the auction and where how they might behave and where price might go based on that. Okay, so we had high liquidity here at some of these levels here, 463 contracts, and they started pulling. Okay, even up above, they're pulling as well, and it goes down to 427, then down to 394. And then finally, we start to trade into this higher liquidity here, and 360 of them trade. Now, this is fact, okay? That high liquidity, they pulled a lot along the way, okay, from 427 or whatever it was, down to, you can see here, 388, 364 right here at this area, and then finally they're pulling, and there's 357, but we see it, what actually traded here was 360, okay, with our volume column here. Okay, so now we know that yeah, there's buyers here, and they meant to buy. They stayed in the book here, and we're starting to understand their behavior. Are they willing to transact at some of these levels? Okay, and partially here, it's not a whole lot for the S&P, but they stayed in the book, and 360 of them traded. Okay, some of these other areas up here looks like some of it traded as well, but the rest did not. Okay, so what we can draw or conclude from this behavior in the auction is starting to understand the larger players and where they're starting to maybe absorb that selling pressure. Okay, now this was not completely absorbed because it continued to trade through it. Okay, so but it's going to start to maybe slow down those sellers. Okay, there's going to be less of them because they've got what they wanted. They traded into these areas here. Okay, so now we're really starting to understand some of the details in some of these price levels. Okay, and if we get enough buyers to step in on the other side and less sellers down at these areas here, we're going to get a reversal. Okay, so anyway, it's something to keep an eye on, and we'll see if we can come back up and test maybe back up to this 27.50. That's where the sellers kind of ramped it up, you can see, and dropped it down pretty quickly. Okay, so looking for a retest back up to here, and then maybe let's see if the sellers show up again, right? Or less buyers, for example, they're not willing to take it any higher, and then we accept down below this area where we just broke from. Anyway, that's just some of the basics in some of the order flow, and we've only covered one element on this Bookmap chart, okay, and that's been the heat map. And now the other two elements, the best bid and offer and the volume, let's look at that. Okay, and we'll zoom into an area here, just a random area. Let's just come down here. Okay, and here are the other two elements. Okay, so zooming in very closely, this will simplify things. Here is the best ask, okay, the red line, and here's the best bid, the green line. Okay, it's about as simple as it can get. And then you can see the transactions here. Let me make the dot size a little bit bigger. Okay, what we're showing here is the aggressor. Okay, this green dot here is a market buy. They crossed the spread, they paid up for it. They took liquidity, they didn't provide it, they didn't wait. It's a market buy order, and they took liquidity off of the best ask. Okay, and then the red dot is the opposite, it's a sell, market sell order. Now you can see the size of these dots refers to the amount that was traded. You can use the data tip tool here if you want the precise volume that traded here. You can get the date, the timestamp, very precise timestamp, what was on the ask here in terms of liquidity, and then the volume. So this is for a volume of 2. Now this big red dot over here is for a volume of 64. Let's zoom into this area here because I want to show you how we're very precisely recording every single event. This is how these markets trade. Okay, they hit the bid here, and there were several transactions that actually took place for overall volume. In this window here is for 30 actually. Okay, we're down at microsecond level. We're looking at millions of seconds. So you get an idea how precisely we're recording this data. Okay, now, as I zoom back out though, we're just gonna visualize this and consolidate it into a bigger dot and give you the overall understanding of the volume here with 64. Okay, so that means that you can start to zoom out and you can start to use this information on much higher time frames. Not only the volume and the best bid and offer here, but the heat map too. Okay, so let's zoom out because we've been looking at the current market here. Let's see, we got our test right up into this area here. Okay, our 2650, a little bit above it, 27 and a quarter, and then we drop back down into this range here. Let's see if the sellers can get down a little bit lower here, and then hit the bid here hard into 22, and then maybe 20. Okay, why? Because that's where the liquidity is. All right, and that's what the market needs to trade is liquidity. Okay, anyway, let's zoom out and we'll look at and understand what's going on in the bigger picture here in the order flow. Here's our 9:30 open, and look at all these orders here on the offer. Okay, and they were already here before 9 o'clock a.m. Okay, you can even see them kind of here around 8:30. Okay, so and then they really stepped it up here, as you can see. So they want to be sellers here, right? It looks like they stayed in the book as well, and we're seeing the move here to the downside. Okay, now where are we going to start to target some of the higher liquidity on the bid? Well, we know, well, we can see it. This area here, they really didn't have the intent to trade because they started to pull that liquidity in this area here, but they looks like they actually pulled it here and then added it down here. Right, so this is they don't want to be buyers here, they want to be buyers down here, and that does look like it, that is transacting. Okay, so we're starting to find buyers down at these levels. Right, now that's just fact, and we know it because we traded into that high liquidity and we already looked at it and we know what's getting filled down there. Okay, so anyway, let's see how this plays out here. This might be a nice little trap if we can get enough buyers to come in on the other side. We did not, you can see that the sellers did not really come in here, not enough, right, to come down into our 22 level. Okay, and we're kind of going sideways right now, but I would love to see all of this volume here be trapped if we get back up above this kind of 2750 here, and we need to see some size, maybe 27 or so. And if we can get some big buy volume up here, we're going to come right back up into this range here and maybe to the other side of the range. Okay, and we'll keep an eye out for it. And all of these guys here, they're going to have to be, they were maybe selling in this area, looking for the breakdown. Okay, if that's the case, though, they're going to be buyers up in these areas and probably getting stopped out. Okay, so as soon as they're selling, they are now buyers. Right, so some of these concepts, just basic market mechanics and understanding what's going on. Now, I'm not so sure. I mean, we don't have any clues yet to that playing out. We're just kind of going sideways right now, and we see volume on both sides here. So nothing really decisive at the moment. And what we're looking for is a lot of different scenarios here for this to play out. Okay, maybe we'll get a big skew in the book here. And maybe a larger player is going to just show massive supply, and that might scare away the buyers. And then instead you find sellers, and then we can charge right down into these lower lows here. And it looks like what's the low of the day is around 20 or so. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, and there's 530 contracts down here. Okay, so it looks like we might test the low of the day, and they haven't decided yet, or it's indecisive at this point. Okay, we don't know who's really in control here. And we'll just we'll look for the clues though that gives us insight to that move taking place. Okay, as it is right now, we're just kind of going back and forth between this range here. Anyway, let's wrap it up. We'll get to the advanced order flow here in just a few minutes. It starts at 11 a.m. Eastern. If you guys don't have any questions, then we'll wrap it up. Okay, guys. Yeah, have a good day, and we will catch up with you tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.